Hello everyone, I would like to talk about my report, Ecological Footprint and Stability. Now, these are the agendas that we're going to tackle today. Introduction to ecological footprint, components of the ecological footprint, biocapacity and ecological deficit, waste management, climate change and ecological stability, and individual actions and behavioral change. Now, what is exactly an ecological footprint? The ecological footprint is a metric that quantifies the amount of biologically productive land and water area required to produce the resources consumed and to assimilate the waste generated by a given population, individual, or activity. This measure encompasses various components such as food, water, energy, and materials consumption, as well as waste production and carbon emissions. The ecological footprint is expressed in global hectares, or GHA, a standardized unit that accounts for the average productivity of all biologically productive areas on Earth. So, why is it significant? 1. It quantifies resource use. It provides a tangible measurement of the amount of natural resources an individual, community, or nation consumes. This includes resources for food, shelter, transportation, and goods, making the impact of consumption patterns more visible and understandable. Next is the highlights of sustainability issues. By comparing the ecological footprint with the Earth's biocapacity, the capacity of the ecosystem to generate resources and absorb waste, it reveals whether human activities are sustainable. When the footprint exceeds biocapacity, it indicates an ecological deficit, signaling that we are using resources faster than they can be replenished. And lastly, supports sustainable development goals. The ecological footprint aligns with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, or the SDGs, particularly those related to responsible consumption and production, climate action, and life on land. Monitoring and reducing ecological footprints help nations progress towards achieving these goals. Since we already talked about the whats and whys about ecological footprint, let's talk about how is ecological footprint even happening. 1. Our population size. Resource demands requ- Bigger resource demands due to larger populations generally require more resources, including food, water, energy, and raw materials. As the population grows, the total ecological footprint increases due to higher overall consumption. And also, a large population produces more waste, including carbon dioxide emissions and other pollutants, which can exceed the capacity of ecosystems to absorb and process these waste. Next are the consumption patterns. The type and quantities of resources consumed significantly influence the ecological footprint. High consumption of energy-intensive goods such as meat and processed foods increase the footprint compared to a diet with lower resource demands. Consumer behavior also includes a preference of luxury goods, travel, and high-tech devices. This can lead to increased resource use and waste production. For example, frequent air travel and large homes can substantially elevate an individual's ecological footprint. And lastly, technical advancements. Even though technological advancements can improve resource efficiency, reducing the ecological footprint, innovations such as energy efficient appliances, renewable energy technologies, and sustainable agricultural practices that can help lower the amount of land and resources per unit of output. Access to these adoptions of sustainable technologies can vary between countries, whether wealthier nations or individuals may have greater access to and or ability to implement cutting-edge technologies compared to less developed areas. Now, when talking about the significance, I've mentioned earlier that the word biocapacity, capacity being the amount of something that it could take or store. It applies in our biodiversity too. This time I would like to delve deeper into what is known as biocapacity and ecological deficit. Now, what is biocapacity? Biocapacity refers to the ability of an ecosystem to produce biological materials and to absorb waste generated by human activities. It is a measure of how biologically productive land and water an ecosystem can provide and how efficiently it can process waste. Biocapacity is measured in global hectares, which standardize the productivity of different types of land and water uses. The key components or factors of biocapacity is cropland, it's for growing food, fibers and biofuels, grazing land for raising livestock like cows and sheep, fishing grounds for harvesting fish and seafood, forests for timber, paper, and carbon sequestration, and lastly, built up land, area covered by infrastructure or our cityscapes, skyscrapers. Now, ecological deficit. An ecological deficit occurs when the ecological footprint of a population exceeds the pie capacity of the area available to that population. This means that demand of resources and waste generated surpasses the ecosystem's ability to regenerate resources and absorb waste. This results into the depletion of natural resources and accumulation of waste, particularly carbon dioxide. Now, waste management. Waste management is a crucial part for reducing and hindering the process of, of our ecological footprint. Knowing the fact that the planet we live on is slowly reaching to its maximum capacity, these are preventive ways to hinder this process, and we call it waste management. Now, first, why is it so important? Well, resource efficiency reduces resource consumption. Proper waste management practices such as recycling and composting help conserve valuable resources by reusing materials rather than extracting new raw materials. For instance, recycling paper, metals, and plastics reduces the need for virgin resources, minimizing the environmental impact associated with resource extraction and processing. Next is a decrease in greenhouse gas emissions. Organic waste such as food and yard waste produces methane when decomposing in landfills. Effective waste management practices, including composting and controlled landfill operations, can capture and utilize methane, thereby reducing its greenhouse gas emissions and contributing to climate change mitigation. Lastly, the economic benefits that we could gain. Reducing waste through effective management can lead to significant cost savings for municipalities and businesses. Lower waste disposal costs, reduce need for raw materials and recovered materials that can be sold or used will contribute to economic efficiency. Now, you're wondering why we're suddenly talking about climate change and and its relevancy to ecological stability. Well, it's because climate change and ecological stability are closely interconnected, with climate change having significant effects on the stability and health of ecosystems. Understanding these relationships is crucial for addressing environmental challenges and promoting long-term sustainability. Impacts impacts of climate change on ecosystem are the temperate changes due to global warming, extreme weather events, and ocean changes and habitat destruction. Now, the effects it has on biodiversity is the species extinction, habitat loss, and disruption of ecological relationships. There are multiple strategies and adaptations that organizations around the world practice. One are conservation efforts. Next is a sustainable practices that anyone can follow. And lastly is climate action by reducing greenhouse gas emissions through policies and whatnot. Now, what can you do? Well, these are some ways that you can help reduce our ecological footprint and promote our ecological stability. First is resource conservation. We as individuals can reduce our ecological footprint by conserving energy at home and work. Simply actions like turning off lights when not in use, using energy efficient appliances, and reducing heating and cooling can lower energy consumption and reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Next, supporting sustainable practices. We can advocate for environmental issues, support policies that promote sustainability, and raise awareness about ecological challenges. Engaging in community environmental initiatives and supporting organizations focused on conservation and sustainability can amplify impact. Next is sustainable consumption. We can reduce our ecological footprint by making more s- sustainable food choices. This includes consuming less meat, particularly red meat, which has high environmental impact due to its resource intensive production. Choosing locally sourced and seasonal foods can also reduce the carbon footprint associated with transportation, fascinatingly enough. And lastly, is our community engagement with these activities. Participating in local environmental initiatives such as community cleanups, tree planting events, and conservation projects contributes to the health of local ecosystems and fosters a culture of environmental stewardship. Now that's it from my report. Thank you for tuning in. And this is saying by Val Kindo. The earth is always changing, readjusting to our existence. Each era is full of unique challenges. Thank you, and once again,